Welcome to our geography class, dear students of class 9. Wish you all a very happy day, children. So, we were revising the first chapter. I hope by now your concept about India's location, the importance of latitude, longitude, our standard meridian time is very much clear. Our India is the seventh largest country in the world. We are the seventh largest, and in your book, children, you will find that there is a bar graph given where the different countries are there according to their size. The largest one in the world is Russia, followed by Canada, and then we have USA. The fourth largest one is China, our nearest neighbor, and then we have Brazil and Australia and India. Brazil, Australia, India. India is the seventh largest country in the world, but in terms of population we come second. So this seventh largest country in the world is supporting the second largest size of population in the world. Now, India as a country, we all know that we are a country which is surrounded by land on the northern side. We are surrounded by water in the southern side. And this southward extension of India into the Indian Ocean, and we are having both these seas, the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea, which have greatly provided a very important location to India. Because of this, our country has become easily accessible, meaning that it was very easy to reach India with the help of the sea routes. And these sea routes have greatly helped, especially the invaders and the traders, to reach our country. So, from the western side, we have these European countries and also the Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, that is the Middle East countries, to reach India. And from the eastern side, we have Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines. All these countries could easily reach India. And because India had a long coastline starting from Gujarat there to our Bengal in the eastern side, so our entire coastline was dotted with several ports. There are almost, you will be surprised, children, apart from the 12 to 15 major ports, we are having nearly 180 areas which are used or which we can say as minor ports. So this India's like protruding, India's long coastline and it's protruding into the Indian Ocean has given it the eminent position, and India is the only country in the world which is having an ocean named after it. You will find there is Atlantic Ocean, Antarctic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, but there is no ocean in the name of any other country or any other country. In fact, India is the only country which is having an ocean named after it. And India especially became easily accessible after opening up of the Suez Canal in 1869. You know, children, when the Suez Canal was not dug out, this India was little bit far away from the European countries, because the Europeans, they used to move with the help of the sea route, and they used to cover the entire Atlantic Ocean. And after sailing over that entire Atlantic Ocean, they used to reach the southern part of Africa. Then they used to move below Africa, and then they entered into the Arabian Sea. So it took a huge length of time, and in this distance, covering this distance meant lot of expenses related to fuel, the people those who used to come as traders, they also had a long time to sail, and sometimes children, many sailors used to fall sick while coming or while returning back, and as medical sciences was not advanced at that time, many used to die on their way back home or while coming to India with their goods. So it was decided to find a shorter route, and this shorter route was across the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea. So, children, this Mediterranean Sea lies between, in your class 8, you have studied, children, the Mediterranean Sea lies between our Europe and Africa. And then we have the Red Sea between Africa and Saudi Arabia. One side there is Saudi Arabia, the other side there is our Africa. So we have this Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea, which have played a very important role in connecting Europe with this part of the continent. And the ships used to enter into the Suez Canal. The Suez Canal was designed by a French designer. In fact, this designing was done during the time of Napoleon itself, but at that time the British felt that if Napoleon takes the advantage of this route, then the British will find it very difficult to maintain their dominance over this part of the world. So at that time, this digging of this Suez Canal was simply not accepted, and it was not done. After Napoleon rule ended, this digging work was started by the Egyptian government. It is the Egyptian government who maintains this canal, and every ship passing through this canal has to pay tax to the Egyptian government, and the laborers were all Egyptians, and this canal connects this Mediterranean Sea, Red Sea. On either side there are two ports. One side there is the Port Said, at the other side there is Port Suez. There are two ports, Port Said and Port Suez. So when the ships enter the canal, they take a huge length of time to cover that, because the canal is was when it was constructed at that time, it canal was quite narrow, but later on it was dug out, and now the ships take a little bit lesser time. Previously they used to take a long time. Anyway, the distance was shortened, and it was shortened by nearly 7,000 kilometers. And once the movement started, India became much closer to the world, especially the Western world. Now, children, before the advent of the ships, or before the journey by ships, it was the land routes which was important. You all have studied about the Silk Route, children, where silk used to move from China over land. Through the land, it used to move to the East European countries for trading. Similarly, people used to move in between the mountains. They used to take advantage of the gaps in between the mountains, and they used to move with the help of camels on the back of the horses, and they used to reach this part of the world. And this thing was very much known to us, because Muhammad Ghazni had come to our country to loot the Somnath. Then Muhammad Ghori had also come to our country. There were many Muslim invaders who entered India. Some of them settled down, some of them went back, looted India, and went back to their country after taking wealth from our country. Similarly, children, different routes were constructed by different rulers at different times and connected India. In fact, children, you will be surprised, at one time Pakistan was also a part of India, and Bangladesh also was a part of India, and our next nearest western neighbor was Afghanistan. And many Afghans used to come to our country. They used to bring different kinds of dry fruits from their country, and they used to sell, they used to trade by moving from one house to the another. Just like the fairy wallas you are seeing, they used to come in this way, and almost till independence they used to easily come. And Sher Shah Suri had constructed this GT road. This GT road connected, in fact originally children, it connected Dhaka till Peshawar. Peshawar is just at the borderline between our Pakistan and Afghanistan. And Sher Shah Suri was an Afghan, and there were many Afghan soldiers in his army. These Afghan soldiers found lot of difficulty while going back to their homes. At the time of peace, they used to go back to their families, and they found it quite difficult to reach their hometown. So this Sher Shah Suri, he constructed this GT road connecting Dhaka and Peshawar. But now, as Bangladesh and Pakistan is not a part of our country, so we simply study that this connects from Kolkata till Amritsar. Okay, so till Delhi, and from Delhi there is a connecting road which is also a part of this national highway too, and it connects till Amritsar. Amritsar is at the border between India and Pakistan. So this connectivity between India through the land routes was much more earlier, and later on these sea routes became very popular. These sea routes became popular especially when the European countries, the colonizing countries, they developed their naval power, they developed their technology in naval power, and they reached this part of the world. Now this opening up of the sea routes or the opening up of the land routes have greatly contributed in exchange of the goods and also exchange of knowledge. People from their country spread their religion. You all know, children, that Christianity had come from a different country. So when the routes were opened out of the sea routes, it was the time when the religion also had spread to other countries. From India, Hinduism had spread, Jainism, Buddhism had spread, but from the other countries, Islam and Christianity came to our country. And so in this way, children, the religion spread, the trading was already going on, the knowledge of different concepts like our Indian numerals, the decimal, the concept of zero had spread from India. The stories of Panchatantra, the Ramayana, Mahabharata, Upanishads, all have spread from India, and India was a homeland of spices. Spices was especially noted in our country. So spices, muslin cloth was prepared in Bengal, which was unique, and muslin is such a fine cloth that it was believed that it can easily pass through a muslin sari, can easily pass through the ring of a lady. So all these commodities were in great demand in different parts of the world. So similarly, the idea of Western education, the knowledge of Western education came to our country. So Oriental education was a bit conservative, so Western education influenced us, and we also see this influence in the architectural buildings that have come up. If you go to Bombay VT, children, you will find that it is constructed in the shape of European structure. Similarly, children, if you go to Kolkata, you will find the Victoria Memorial is constructed similarly in Western style. From India also, you will find that we have structures in other parts of the world, like in Borobudur. you will find it's the largest Hindu temple of the world. We find different churches constructed in different parts of India. Similarly, we have this Jama Masjid, the Red Fort. They are constructed according to the Muslim architecture. So the concept of dome and minarets came from the Middle East countries, that is the Muslim countries. So the Europeans brought their own style, where we find the style in the form of a pointed end and not in the form of a dome or minaret. So in this way, children, there was lot of exchange of ideas, concepts, of studies, trading of material, and it was only possible because India had a unique location. It was easily reachable by the land routes as well as by the sea routes. And India is a country which is surrounded by different neighbors. Some of them are Afghanistan, Pakistan, China, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, Bangladesh as our land neighbors, and we have our Sri Lanka and Maldives as our island neighbors. So our country India is divided into number of territories, union territories, 8 union territories, and we have a huge number of states spanning from north to south and east to west. But again, managing all the states together at the time of independence was a very difficult task. Before 1947, that is before independence, there were many small states which were dominated by the local princes, and later on they had to be merged, and the entire country became area dominated by the union territories and the states. So children, now I hope that your entire chapter 1 is very much clear, and I have revised the chapter, and those children who have missed the chapter, those who could not follow, could not understand what is given in the chapter, they are now, I think, are having a very clear concept of this chapter. So children, wish you all a very happy day with a good time devoted to studying. So children, so thank you very much, and next day I will tell you about the international dateline, and I will again revise the questions which are there at the back. Thank you children, have a nice day.